Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a single word. It's a word that shapes everything, from our most sacred beliefs to our simple, everyday life hacks. It's a word that gives any rule a sense of massive authority, even though its meaning is, well, it's all over the place. That word is law.
So let's start with something we've all felt. You're standing there, looking at a menu, maybe for milkshakes, maybe for coffee, and it's just too much. This quote here absolutely nails that feeling of analysis paralysis. Suddenly, choosing between two flavors feels like the most stressful, high-stakes decision you'll make all week.
And this isn't just about milkshakes, is it? It's about what career to choose, what to binge-watch next, which of the 100 sneakers to buy. We are drowning in choice. And in all that chaos, we're desperate for rules, for guidelines, for anything to make life simpler. We even elevate some of those rules by calling them laws. But what does that really mean? What are we doing when we call something a law?
To get to the bottom of that, let's start at the very beginning, with the oldest and, you could say, the most powerful kinds of laws out there.
For thousands of years, law meant one thing, a divine command. It wasn't just a set of rules. As this verse from Psalms puts it, these laws were seen as perfect, absolute truths, straight from a higher power. They weren't just about keeping you in line, they were about changing your entire soul. This is law as something sacred and totally unchangeable.
I mean, the Ten Commandments are the classic example, right? These weren't suggestions or helpful hints. Nope. They were seen as a direct blueprint from God on how to live, a foundational framework for morality, for faith, for everything. This is law as the ultimate bedrock of society.
Okay, so what happens when we humans start making the laws? Well, you get things like common law. It's not handed down from on high, but it's built on these really basic fundamental ideas, like the ones you see here. Don't hurt people, keep your promises, respect their stuff. Simple, right? The goal here shifts. It's not about saving souls anymore. It's about making sure we can all live together without chaos. But here's where it gets really interesting. The authority for a law doesn't have to come from God or the government. Sometimes it just comes from, well, life being frustrating. Murphy's Law. There's no court that's going to enforce this, but I think we can all agree when you drop your toast and it lands butter side down, it feels about as real as any law on the books. So let's just pause for a second. That is a huge spectrum of meaning, isn't it? We went from a perfect, sacred path to eternal life, all the way to just having a cynical hunch that you're about to have a bad day. What this really shows is our deep, deep human need to find, or maybe just invent, some kind of order and predictability in literally every part of our lives.
And that desire for order, it takes us somewhere else. A place that's not quite divine, not quite human, but is all about the hidden rules that supposedly run the universe itself.
Now this is where things get a bit more cosmic. Many spiritual systems are built around a set of universal laws, like the famous law of attraction. The big idea here is that these aren't rules you have to follow like a speed limit. Instead, they're more like forces of nature, like gravity, that you can learn about and work with. Their authority comes from the belief that they're just part of the fabric of reality.
And this quote here really captures that feeling. Listen to those words, blueprint, frequency. It suggests that reality isn't just some random chaotic thing happening to us, it's a system. And if you can just learn the laws of that system, you can tune into the right frequency and actually help shape your own life. This is law as a creative tool.
Okay, let's bring it back down to earth for our last section. Let's talk about the laws that we literally just invent for ourselves. The rules we cook up from our own experiences and then package as wisdom, for getting ahead, for getting more done, or just for making life a little bit easier. You've probably seen books like The 48 Laws of Power. Now, let's be real, these aren't universal truths. They're strategic advice, and sometimes pretty ruthless advice, for getting ahead in the world. But here's the clever part. Calling them laws makes them sound so much more important, so much more real. It turns them into the rules of a game that you just have to master if you want to win.
And then you've got personal laws that are less about power and more about just surviving the day. We call these heuristics, which is just a fancy word for a mental shortcut. And Falkman's Law is a perfect example. It's a simple little rule designed to protect your most precious resource, your mental energy.
Now this obviously isn't a law of physics. It's just a practical little checklist. Look at the components here. It's just asking you to stop and think, do I absolutely have to decide this right now? Will I know more later? What's the risk if I wait? It's a tool to help us stop wasting brain power on things that just don't matter yet.
And just like that, boom, we are right back at the milkshake shop. Is picking the absolute perfect milkshake something you need to decide right this second? Probably not. By using a simple little law like this one, we can save our focus for the big things, the decisions that actually matter, instead of getting bogged down by the small stuff.
So here's the real takeaway. From sacred texts, to cynical jokes, to productivity hacks, we use the word law for one reason: to give a rule power, to make it feel important, solid, and true. It turns a simple idea into a powerful guiding principle. And that just leaves one last question for you to think about. What are the unwritten laws that you live by?